Hi, fellow travelers. My name is Martin Desmond. I'm going to take you on 10 one-minute walks to see famous thermal and lodging facilities in Yellowstone National Park. Here we are walking along the boardwalk at Old Faithful. Old Faithful erupts every to 60 to 110 minutes, shoots up about 180 feet. Now, unfortunately, during the winter time and cold weather, mostly what you're going to see is a big cloud of steam. In fact, I sort of like to refer to Old Faithful Geyser as Old Faithful Steamer during the winter time. And so I would estimate that there's a couple hundred people along this boardwalk. Now, during the summertime, you'll see 500 to 1,000. I mean, there's literally 5 or 6 rows deep of people. Our next walk is over to the Old Faithful Visitor Education Center. Now, this particular facility was reopened to the public in August of 2010. It replaced a Mission 66 era visitor center that was taken down in 2006 and 2007. The cost of this building was $27 million, of which the nonprofit Yellowstone Park Foundation put up $15 million, and the Park Service put up $12 million. Now, this popular visitor education center attracts people who want to find out what time the um, the geysers are expected to uh, to erupt. Plus, there's movies and a lot of neat thermal exhibits there. We're now approaching Old Faithful Inn. This inn was originally built back in 1903 to 1904. The primary architect was Robert Reamer. The facility has 324 rooms in both its old section as well as its new section. The inn is open at least in 2025 from May 2nd to October 13th. Now these rooms are pretty expensive. They typically run $400 to $600 a night, even though you can get cheaper rooms in the older section of the inn for about $300 a night. So here we're going to be walking through the famous red doors and into the lobby. Old Faithful Inn is the largest log hostelry in the world, and it towers up 5 stories. Here we're walking to the Snow Lodge. Now, the Snow Lodge is the newest facility that has been built in the Old Faithful area. This particular lodge was built back in 1999. So, as we go through the front doors here, immediately off to your right is the dining room. You can get a breakfast buffet for $19.99, and then a dinner buffet that runs $49, plus they have a la carte food. Also on the right-hand side is a lounge. Notice as we're walking through on the left-hand side, you'll see a number of chairs. Because this is mid-morning, these chairs aren't filled up, but they fill up at night because the lobby is the only place in Old Faithful where you can get Wi-Fi coverage. And here we're about to take a quick little look at the natural gas fireplace. We're now crossing over the bridge over the Firehole River. The Firehole River runs through the upper geyser basin, the middle geyser basin, and the lower geyser basin. Because it goes through these thermal areas, it's sort of a slightly warmer river. And so from here, you can head up to Geyser Hill at the upper geyser basin. Now, the Upper Geyser Basin contains 300 geysers within a 2 square mile area. It's the biggest concentration of geysers in the entire world. And notable geysers include Old Faithful, Daisy, Castle, Riverside, and Grand Geyser. Now, I'm just sort of guesstimating here, but for every 100 people that watch Old Faithful Geyser, I would guesstimate that less than 20 of them actually bother to take the time to walk out onto Old Upper Geyser Basin, which is about a 2 mile hike on relatively flat areas. So here we're approaching Grand Geyser, which is the largest predictable geyser in actually the whole world. Grand Geyser shoots up to 200 feet and it sends it out in powerful bursts, and it'll erupt for about 9 to 12 minutes. And as I said, it reaches 200 feet in elevation. Now, I was talking to a fellow who was sitting at the bench there, and he told me that they had just entered the 15-minute period, and from here, the geyser was expected to erupt any time within the next 3 hours. Now, he was really committed to watching this geyser go off just simply because it's the largest one that's predictable in the world. I myself continued walking down the trail to see Morning Glory Pool. So here we're approaching Lake Lodge. Lake Lodge is a rustic lodge with 186 cabins. It's located adjacent to Yellowstone Lake. My spouse and I have stayed here several times. There's a restaurant inside, as well as a laundry facility, and they also have a couple of fireplaces that you can sit by. And for the 186 cabins, there's what's called the Western and the Frontier and the Pioneer cabins. So here we're now looking out over Yellowstone Lake, and even though the clouds are there, the Absaroka mountain range is also off there in the distance. Now, my spouse and I were going to be staying at Lake Lodge in October, and we got the rooms for $135 a piece. Located on the southern side of Hayden Valley is Mud Volcano. This is quite a fascinating and otherworldly place where hot springs bubble, and there's a whole bunch of neat features called like Dragon's Mouth Spring, Black Dragon Cauldron that we're approaching, Sour Lake, Churning Cauldron, and Grizzly Fumarole. Now, bison, for whatever reason, also like to hang out in this area. And as I went for a walk on that boardwalk over to the left, we ran into a number of bison that were just simply hanging out and grazing. Next up is Grant Village. Now, this was the last major development by the Park Service at Yellowstone National Park. The construction at Grant Village began in 1963 with construction of a campground and picnic spots. Eventually, in 1984, six large mobile home buildings were constructed, each of them holding approximately 50 motel units each. Now we're approaching the restaurant on the lake, and this is actually a fairly popular restaurant. And I was listening to one of the YouTubers who actually gave a pretty good review of the food here at this particular marina restaurant. Yellowstone is not really well known for its food. And finally, we're approaching Fishing Bridge. Now, Fishing Bridge was so named because the fishermen used to like to hang out and fish directly over the bridge. There's a large cutthroat population that likes to spawn in this area. Now, in 1973, the Park Service banned fishing here to protect the cutthroat population. The Yellowstone River flows out from here, flows 692 miles undammed, the largest stretch. So I want to thank you for watching this video, and please click on this other video to find out about how Yellowstone wildlife annoy tourists. Thanks.